So, um, welcome everyone. So, very glad to be here in this Global Supply Chain Summit. And we are in the session 2. We actually already had inaugural function. Hi, Nicholas, welcome. We just started. So, we actually already in the morning, we had an inaugural session and we had a session 1. Now we are moving to a session 2. The session 2 theme is streamlining the warehouses and distribution center, the connected warehouse. I think that's a session theme. And we have actually 5 different experts with us. I'll introduce all of them. We are going to have a fantastic discussion today. What's happening in this warehouse? What is happening in the connected warehouse space? I think that's going to be a fantastic value add for everyone, right? I'll just introduce myself, Dr. K. Ganesh, a senior expert and associate partner in McKinsey. 16 years experience in supply chain. Glad to be your as a session moderator. And yeah, I'll introduce one by one each and every the panel members. I'll start with Ms. Sulaisa Sapto. Sulaisa, welcome to the panel. Sulaisa actually is a senior product marketing lead for a transport and logistics at Year Technologies, based out of Singapore. She actually almost have 19 years of experience in product management, product marketing, product development, and she kind of joined Year Technologies as a global product manager in 2008 and working across organization, enabling various teams and positioning, location intelligence, product offering. And she also led the creation of the company's first pedestrian navigation content globally and in Asia Pacific, which was embedded in several Nokia GPS-enabled phones as well, right? So very glad to have Sulaisa. Welcome, Sulaisa, for the panel. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll have Mr. Jan Erman. Welcome, Jan. Very glad to have you. Senior expert, McKinsey and Company from Zurich office. He actually co-lead the operations hub in Switzerland. His work mainly focuses on global logistics and warehousing with emphasis on large-scale transformations. And is also passionate on how do we apply the advanced analytics in warehousing and logistics, and how do we build the capabilities in warehousing and distribution, right? So he's part of the global manufacturing and supply chain practice, and also he's kind of leading the digital warehouse analytics team, and he's kind of worked a lot in warehouse automations. And we're going to hear from you, Jan. Very, very glad to have you. Thanks for spending time. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you.
And so Jan and Sulaisa, both of them will have a lead presentations. We'll start with Sulaisa. She'll have 10 minutes presentation, and then we'll have Jan will be discussing his viewpoint from a warehouse automation point of view. So these are the 2 lead presentation. Post that, we'll have a panel discussions. In panel, we're going to have Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Abhijit, as well Mr. Gaurav. Welcome all 3 of you. Mr. Nicholas is Executive Vice President, Global Sales and Marketing, EOG. He kind of, comes with a great expertise, and he actually have a success in building, scaling, and leading the sales and marketing organizations that actually had consistent year over revenue growth. And he also having a strong management and leadership skills with a record of building high performance teams from a field sales, marketing, sales operations, and till the customer service organization. So very glad to have you, Mr. Nicholas, for the panel. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Mr. Abhijit Sengupta, who is a Senior Director, Southeast Asia and India from Year Technologies. Very glad to have you, sir. He's actually based out of Singapore. He actually brings over almost 2 decades of experience in sales and business development. He also been driving the customer success, both in B2B as well as the B2C segments with the market leading organizations, both in India as well as Southeast Asia, right? And Abhijit comes with a fantastic experience in working in startup phase in the Indian telecom and communication sector, and also led some of the very great initiatives of product launch, first to the industry, first to the market. I think very glad to know. I think in the last 12 years with the Year Technologies, he kind of led product management, product operations, and he also kind of worked with many key customers in the region. He's a led thought leadership in defining the product and content strategy for both India and Southeast Asian market. Yeah. Very happy, Mr. Abhijit. Very glad to have you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Looking forward.
Thank you. We have Mr. Gaurav Arora, who's a General Manager of Procurement from Stellis Biopharma. He's a procurement head. He actually kind of comes with a fantastic experience. He's previously worked with Biocon as a Senior Director Supply Chain. where he managed global sourcing and procurement. He's having a fantastic experience in direct, indirect sourcing, contract manufacturing, inbound stores management, inbound logistics management, inbound warehouse, and also various brownfield and greenfield oriented projects from the inbound point of view. I think we'll have a very good set of people here to actually kind of discuss what's happening today in a connected warehouse. I'm really excited and delighted. With this, without time, I probably request Sulaisa to kind of go over and share her thoughts for 10 to 11 minutes from her presentation, and post that we'll have Jon Herman to share around 10 minutes for warehousing automation. So let me pause and let's actually have the panel after this we have panel discussions. Any questions, audience? I know you're in the back end. Any questions? Please put across and send across to John or Riaz, and we'll be in a position to take it up. And we have actually a set of questions which is already lined up, and definitely this is going to be a super value add for all of you. But if you have any specific questions, you can put across and send it to John or Riaz, and we will take it forward from there. So let me pause and hand over to Sulaisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. So hello and everyone, and good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, thank you for your attendance today, and I'm glad to be given the chance to share with you on how location intelligence is able to make a difference to a segment of the supply chain journey, which is through connected warehouse. So if you look at our company, Here Technologies is a location data and technology platform company. We help our customers understand and model a world that's always moving and changing. And we produce something what we call a digital representation of reality. Now, it's a map, but it's also much more than what you conventionally think of as a map, because it's living, dynamic, and continuously updating, and covering not just roads, but more and more of the world in 3 dimensions, like buildings, factories, corporate campuses, airports, docks, stores, and increasingly now incorporates the stuff that moves, like vehicles, goods, IoT sensors, and people. And this representation of reality is the basis for us and our customers to understand how people, places, and all things connect together. Now, we have more than 9,000 employees and offices in 56 countries. Now, that gives us a strong local presence in key markets. And the roots of Here extend all the way back to 1985, when a small team actually started developing the first digital map database of the Bay Area. But the company's goal has been the same, that is to develop the best maps and location experience for people and businesses to navigate their world. And the most important thing is that has been working really well for us. It's not just working on an effective valued solutions alone, but with other companies or partners. Now, we've partnered with some of the best minds and organizations globally in our mission. Here, I'm just showing you our partners that actually makes this happen. So let's look at the topic today about connected warehouse. When we first start this, I'd like to inform you that e-commerce has disrupted, a lot of the traditional supply chain. Now, a lot of us knows that direct to customer sales is one of the reason for the arms race in the last mile delivery. But the shift in dynamic is so powerful that it's even affecting the middle mile. Some say it's a middle mile, some say it's the first piece of the last mile. But whatever the terms of understanding is, what I meant is to focus on where the goods, containers, shipments are managed in the warehouses. Now, middle mile, where centrally focused on warehouse operations, represents the biggest opportunity. Cost cutting in the middle mile of logistics is often the smartest option. High velocity and lower landed costs can be passed directly to the consumer without eating the margin. And it starts with digitizing the warehouse operations. So let's look at a common problem here. A warehouse manager wants visibility. So what kind of visibility is it? A visibility related to the warehouse includes providing access to information about inbound shipments, inventory levels in the warehouse, information about orders, such as when the order is received, picked or shipped, or whether it's out of stock or has been put on hold for some reason, and where the goods located among the aisles. Now, if you add all these, including manpower, scheduling, assets within the warehouse like forklifts and such, there are multiple factors that need to be tracked, monitored, and having even the basic awareness will reduce so much extra effort in operations. And we asked several mid to large companies, some of these are our customers, about the percentage of operational costs that actually average out to be almost 85% from handling materials, manpower, electricity, and rent. And when we look at the typical warehouse scenario, we believe we can create a layer of real-time location intelligence on top of standard WMS or YMS. That means standard warehouse management system or yard management system. So operators can make proactive decisions, thus saving costs and even boosting service level. And with this real-time data visibility, as you can see here, for example, we can get real-time notifications, where the zone check-ins are for the goods, and able to see the movements of people and equipment. Now, to analyze and manage more operational efficiency and capacity, especially in terms of storage. So there will be like a dashboard that will be showing the trends, or heat maps to visualize the busy zones. And there are many benefits that can be derived, as you can see here. So the most things that people look for is, what are the direct impacts to my KPIs? Yes, I can reduce manpower, I can improve safety, I can improve operational efficiency, but all these level up to main key KPIs, to a lot more time saving, cost saving, improve order to dispatch, and maybe dock to stock time. So I'd like to share with you a solution that we enable in partnership with UOG. If you look at this in a 3 vertical component implementation, we first start with where the data of assets that has been tracked. Now you can use the hardware that he has, or you can bring your own tracker. You can input ERP TMS data, warehouse layout data, or even order level data. It's a big data compilation, right? So next is to embed this data into our asset tracking platform as a service. Now we provide the tools, the APIs, to enable many functions. We even have our own map making capabilities that can enable more things, like tracking indoors and outdoors, like within the yards that has private trails or private roads. Then with this map data or blueprint that customers provide, you are able to see all this movement. And with UOJ providing the dashboard via web or browser-based mobile support, we can then start visualizing, tracking and measuring some of these changes that happen within the warehouse or even within the bigger campus. Where's the equipment, the utilization level in which zones. You can even get notifications or even create rules if there's a disruption. And you're able to make improvements with the reports that you get from these activities. Now, I keep saying about visibility. Now, why? Because one of the largest advantage of digital warehousing is definitely improved visibility, because studies shows that more than 60% of companies have limited clarity. So slow, error-prone manual process makes it a little difficult to understand inventory levels and shipping progress in time, leading to delays, mistakes. IoT technology can mitigate this by providing automatic real-time data. IoT tracking sensor can reveal precisely where any product or shipment is at any time, even monitoring the conditions. Now, warehouse that improve visibility become more efficient. This improvement is perhaps most noticeable in picking. Now, workers who know exactly where to go for each item spends less time walking and looking through the aisles. And digital warehousing can also help logistic operations lower their ongoing expenses. And data analytics engines can analyze the business logistics process to highlight potential cost improvements. Some operations may benefit from outsourcing their warehouse, which frees up capital by mitigating ownership expenses, but may not realize it. So analytics would show the data behind how it would save money, helping the business find new ways to save money. Now, to overcome the future, overcoming it, the growing warehouse management challenges of today and tomorrow, logistics companies will have to move from a connected warehouse to a full digital representation. Now, today, we are enabling a fully connected warehouse where the real-time tracking of MHE or material handling equipment and workforce leads to productivity gains and cost savings. Now, the next step is to automate processes, optimize dimensioning, storage, fulfillment, leverage predictive analytics for decision making. In a full AI driven digital AI warehouse, we will see more remote warehouse management and control, VR, AR, or even 3D digital twins. Now, the IoT, big data, and data science, augmented reality, wearables, low-cost sensors, high-level computing can be combined to fully automate the warehouse and DC operations, transforming them into an essential component of the integrated supply chain. Now, we believe that location intelligence will play a key role to build the resilient supply chain of tomorrow. So in summary, I'd just like to reiterate again that HERE Technologies actually have 3 decades of experience in the industry of location technology. Now, we've been a long-time trusted partners that many of our customers have counted on for location intelligence solutions. So we want to actively help you and enable your use cases. So let's partner up with us to co-develop together. And with that, thank you for your time. And please do contact us and allow us a chance to help you for your location-based warehouse digitization. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Ganesh.
Thanks a lot, Sulesa. Thank you very much. That was very wonderful. At least we could actually see how people actually can step back and think through the journey, right, in terms of archetype 1, 2, and 3, so how they can move on. I think well covered, and now the location and analytics is very important. That I think come very clearly. So it was fabulous information for many people who really wanted to embark the the journey of warehousing to next level. So that is fantastic, and it's evolving today. The warehousing is becoming important area even in Asia level. People actually want to transform the warehouse. Unlike we always look at only from a supply chain angle, planning angle. Now I think apart from the logistics, warehousing also is gaining more attention. So it was a fantastic presentation. So with that, I'll request Jon Herman. I think I'll share the slide for you. So I think your presentation, especially from the how we can kickstart the automation journey, people really want to understand. Yeah, you're good to go. Fine, good.
We're good to go.
You're very good. Yeah, I think you can share. Yeah, perfectly fine. How we can kickstart the journey? I think people really wanted to understand from a Western world how this is happening, so that we can learn from there and take it forward. You looking forward to hear. Yeah.
No, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity here, and I think you already heard actually on a very interesting solution here, which could even bypass, let's say, traditional warehousing approach. We currently see that warehousing is in many markets the need of the hour. Yeah? Because this is not only due to the COVID impact the last 2 years, but also has been actually with the growth of e-commerce. Actually, a lot of traditional retail stores have been replaced by warehouses. Yeah? So only in the last 7 years, the number of warehouse workers in the United States have doubled. Yeah? And still, not only meaning you have actually more warehousing work there, it's actually also more space and also the rising of labor costs. So in this sense, it's quite, let's say, we call it in many markets an overheated market. Yeah? Also not only due to the fact of the shortage in labor, but also how you actually react, how you actually create capacity. What is the right level of automating actually around this? What is actually the choice on this? So for many companies, it actually has become actually a major source of limitation of, let's say, their own growth paths, which we didn't have that situation like 5-10 years ago, where warehousing was more looked into, oh, this is just a cost element. But if you look actually at Amazon, actually they really took warehousing as one of their strategic sources. Yeah? Coming to the below point there, I mean, having a source of, let's say, a warehouse automation being a source of, oh, this is actually creating confusion. I think you've just heard one solution with real-time location monitoring that is probably also putting clients ahead of the curve. Yeah? If you look at the choice of, let's say, the automated solutions, it's a quite big variety. So many clients have implemented warehouse management systems. Yeah? You see them actually on the top right corner, including barcoding, seeing some of the benefits, how you actually, let's say, monitor your stock, let's say, control your employees. However, it's not always given, yeah. So in this sense, but the solution that you've heard today was something enabling also clients to move to the next level. So this actually was coming from a recent survey that we did actually amongst our clients. Okay, what is kind of, let's say, the evolving technology, and what is technologies where we say, hey, listen, this is actually stuff which is probably not yet matured enough to actually going through. So some examples, and then you often find, or clients find themselves in a way of, shit, not shit, but hey, this is like a complex element, yeah, because it's like depending on the number of SKUs that you have, depending on the number of order lines that you pick per day, not the one or the other solution makes actually sense, yeah. And it's also quite, let's say, changing in terms of the location that you're serving, and not all locations look the same. So that's like quite, let's say, some complexity that you have to digest there. And in this sense, it's actually finding good and robust solutions. Yeah, that is something which we actually figure clients actually are looking out for, and not to find solutions completely, let's say, automated, having actually a 3 or 4 years investment cycle before they're actually seeing benefits. But our clients are right now looking more for solution. Okay, how can it actually help me in next year? How can it actually help me in 2 years actually to gain actually benefits? So we look actually for the solutions that, or many clients are looking for solutions that are not just there for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 or 10 years, but more also on the short term. Yeah? Some examples here just to share also here with you, and you've heard already one example here. So you actually have here the possibility of autonomous guided vehicles, voice directed picking, smart picking here. So what we typically also find in this end is that clients are struggling still, where is actually the benefit? And I'm now showing you just our small warehouse innovation center that we've actually created in the back here. So it's actually a demo warehouse in which we can also, let's say, test technologies for the client. So the stuff that you're seeing here on the back of me is actually an autonomous mobile robot that's actually assisting the picking, yeah? Particularly for mobile picks, that's actually extremely helpful. We also equipped this, so in the back of me you see actually the digital camera here that is actually allowing here for a way of real-time location monitoring. So that's actually 2 examples around this. And we opened this actually as a demo warehouse for clients that they can also test the technology. Some other technologies actually here, the voice picking, which like 10 years ago was very complex with servers, took actually sometimes months or years to implement actually. Today, it takes not more than 2 or 3 days to actually invest into this. You see actually on my back actually let's say an identification workplace that is automatically actually detecting products, not just with barcode, but with neural nets actually in the back end actually. So that's actually used currently by Swiss retail or by Swiss e-com retailers around this. And the environment that we're actually having here is that we're actually testing technologies before they actually implement it. And that's also something where we also say, hey, within warehousing, test something beforehand, simulate beforehand, in particular build a digital twin of the warehouse. What are you wanting to do to avoid actually some, let's say, surprises during the implementation? That is something which we would actually recommend clients actually to do, and where we also see right now a huge, let's say, interest actually, not only in the Swiss, but also in the European market on this. Yeah? So that's something where we say, actually, in this sense, I mean, moving warehousing from the cost and complex element to more like an Amazon, who plays, hey, warehousing for me is a competitive advantage, yeah? Because they deploy 200,000 of bots actually in the warehouse, yeah? Delivering more SKUs, better service levels actually in this, yeah? And that actually at lower capital costs actually around this. And that's actually where we typically helping clients like to compete with the global competitions actually, to also enable them to, you know, finding actually either a North Star vision, but also, I mean, to implement actually. Sometimes really, I mean, some clients come, oh man, I had some issues in this warehouse implementation and that warehouse implementation. Some would actually say, hey, I'm not touching this or the other system, but that's something where I think a lot of, let's say, clients can actually learn from. So that's actually, I think, some examples here. Happy to take questions. Actually, Ganesh, we have actually our digital warehouse simulation that the two of us have actually developed over the last, I think, 3-4 years in terms of also delivering, let's say, significant impact to the warehousing of our clients. Yeah?
Thanks, John. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate that you actually shown the real prototype which you are actually running and leading it, right? So that gives a lot of for credibility for people to kind of step back, and before we kind of automate anything, how we can think through the journey, how we can prototype. So that is very important. So I think that is the important platform people actually step back and think through. So which are already running, and definitely I think you will have a lot more people might be reaching out to you to understand that more. By the way, we have this in our McKinsey DCC, which is a Digital Capability Center India. So Jan is also one of the co-lead of our overall DCC, right? So we're happy to kind of host and show you some of the solutions we are prototyping. Our idea is to kind of bring this on the table. How do we help the people think through the automation in an effective way? So we have a very good collaborations, the third-party collaborations on the table, and we help the client to kind of move to the next level. So that's great, Jan. That was fantastic. Thanks for actually sharing some of your thoughts. And any other questions from anyone else, maybe even from the panelists, to Sulaiza and Jan? Otherwise, we move to the panel discussion. Ms. Abhijit or Gaurav or Nicholas, anything from your side to kind of quickly ask with Jan and Sulaiza, else we move to a panel. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's, from my standpoint, I just, you love seeing, groups and everybody trying to work towards, resolving what exists today. And I think Jan's is, or excuse me, the statement that came in from Jorn as far as that the customers are looking for what's going to help us today. I think that is the most essential conversation that we're having with clients is, okay, there's so much coming in the future. There's so much down there, but how can you help me improve my KPIs and work through today? And that's something that obviously with here in Yoji that we're being spoken about, and really having to answer those questions and make sure that the products and the development that we're doing is guiding that. So it was great to hear that actually they're seeing that in their research too.
And that's a good point, actually. So what is helping today, which is actually the operational, and it's often a people and space challenge that you have. Yeah? And on the other hand, you still have, and knowing actually that warehousing is probably mathematically one of the most complex problems that you can actually solve. At the same time, to say, what is helping me today, but also preparing them for the future. Yeah? That you're not making, let's say, moves that is actually blocking you. Yeah. In any way. I think that's typically the balance that we see, in particular now in global warehousing, and where to also start on the many priorities that you actually see.
Yeah, you almost end up hurting because there's so much out there. Like there's so much that you see that visually you can do, but how do you start? And that's where we see that challenge. We see that customers, and you're talking the largest of the largest companies in the world coming to us and asking it. Okay, hey, I know we need to improve. I know we need to get better, but where do I start? And no, this is good. That's great. That's what, again, the research is showing too. It's just not clients saying it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we probably move to our panel discussions.
Yeah, Doctor. So Gaurav here. So it's very nice to hear Jan and Sulaiza for their expertise and what they are offering on the platform to resolve, because most of the companies right now are struggling, and even though they are thinking on a first for the business continuity and the problem of shortage of manpower, so that's how these are the main issues right now, which is concurring to the almost all of the industries. So it's good to have them as expertise, and if the company require really to adopt those tools and technologies, it's very, very useful for them to understand. So thank you for giving overviews, Jan and Sulaiza. Thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. I think with this, anyway, I think thanks Sulaiza and Jan for their wonderful presentation. We move to a panel discussion. So we'll have a rich, good discussion. So Sulaiza, you can step in any point of time, anything you want to add in as well. So otherwise, I think we'll move to the panel discussion, right? So good. Yeah, Mr. Abhijit, Mr. Gaurav and Nicholas, right? So I actually have a few questions from my side, because when I actually talk to the client, we are doing a lot of transformation, right? Both in supply chain and overall logistics as well. So when I actually meet a lot of clients who actually kind of, as you rightly said, I just want to crawl today. I move from a very basic setup to a mechanized setup, from mechanized setup to a semi-automation, and then move to automation. This is a journey whether I should do it, or can I do a leapfrogging into a complete an automation. These are some of the questions coming on the table, right? So maybe I think I want to kind of start with another question, which is called the real-time visibility, right? That is very important question, which is evolving in many of my client situations, and even the audience who are actually here also want to understand that, right? So maybe Nicholas, I want to start this question with you, right? How to kind of we actually want to have visibility in every part of the supply chain. That is very important. But how to kind of gain the real-time visibility in the warehousing part, right? We will step back and think through whether we need visibility as one of the important area, whether we run a simple business and go again. That's a different question. But somebody who already in a I would say median or embarking a journey to top quartile, for them visibility is important. So what are the prerequisites if someone actually want to embark this visibility journey, either in warehousing or even the connected warehousing of logistics? What would be the prerequisite and how they can do it? From your experience and expertise, would love to know your thoughts, Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the two questions there, right? How do you gain the real-time visibility inside of the warehousing specifically, and then also, kind of the prerequisite for trying to make that journey. And as you mentioned, it's a journey, right? It is not, it's not a momentary event. It's not an instance where you just snap your fingers and you're all of a sudden there. So let's talk about, the prerequisites. Unfortunately, it depends a little bit on where you sit today and where you're looking on going. We'll make some assumptions based again, obviously on the research that was just shown that you have a lot of companies that have WMSs obviously running through their warehouse, and this is helping them with the orders coming in through the warehouse and providing where somebody is supposed to, what they're expected to go pick and pack on a daily basis and help ship out, right? In the simplest form, that's what a WMS can help provide. And obviously it does inventory type things too, but as far as a visibility aspect, it's, hey, who's going where? And if we make the assumption that people have that, and in some cases even they don't, but if they have that, now what's my next step? Now, how do I know if my warehouse is operating efficiently or effective? How do I know what the movements are? How do I know how good one warehouse is working against another warehouse, whether it's in the same country or across the globe? How do I compare those type of things? And those are the questions that we're getting asked. And again, I'm just going to tune back to what was said just a moment ago. And how do I start recognizing value today? I can tell you what here in Yogi, what we partnered together on this was that exact question. How do I get more visibility, accountability, and control inside of my warehouse? And how do I do it quickly? And how do I do it inexpensively? And that's where we've really kind of flipped a little bit of this on its head and extended beyond a WMS system, where it's not replacing a WMS system, but it's really looking to add more visibility through that journey inside the warehouse. How are people moving? How many meters are they walking? What are the idle times of MHEs? That the machine's going through? What does it actually look like inside of a warehouse from a heat mapping perspective, where people are going? Alerts based on people maybe going in areas that they shouldn't be in, based on whatever reasons that are there. And then how can I take that information and track it across my other warehouses and really start getting a clear picture of how effective and efficient warehouses are run? It's a major part of the supply chain. But if you actually look at warehouses today and you want to say, well, I think we're doing it right. I think 50 people are the right amount of people for us to do. But only knowing the output that's coming out based on the orders coming in is a difficult way to say how efficient and effective your warehouse is actually operating. So a prerequisite for somebody looking to go down this visibility journey, I'll be honest, is a desire to provide more visibility in your journey today. Technology, at least the way that we've created ours and we're working with here, we don't have a lot of limits from embarking on that journey. It's more of a desire to do it with a realistic expectation of what success will look like. And when we sit down and talk to our clients and potential clients, that's what the conversation is let's get to where realistic expectations are in the short term and a possibility of a medium and a long term, and how can we help do that? But again, I think it's desire to get there. I think it's some minimum bits of information coming in from a technology standpoint that's existing today, whether that's from a WMS or whether you're trying to feed information to a labor management system. Again, it's just really clearly understanding that path. So that's at least my part from a prerequisite standpoint. And then how do you gain real-time visibility in logistics, and specifically in the warehousing side? You really have to be able to track the movement of not only the goods coming in and out of the warehouse, but really understanding what's going on inside of the four walls to get it from into the warehouse and then obviously outside of the warehouse. Then again, it's something that Yoji and here worked quite a bit on over the last year and are starting to deploy with some of the largest global partners in the world. Is this what is actually going on inside the four walls, and are they operating efficiently and effective? And how is that helping me determine and make better real-time business decisions on what I should be doing and how I can be improving? But hopefully that answers the question based on what you were looking for there.
Helpful, Nicholas. I think very well said, right? I think I completely understand. So, see, one of my client, for them, completely cost cutting is one of the important area. That's very well, agreeable. So, anyone I think wanted to step back and see if you want to do a transformation, cost transformation. So that is actually very clear. But of late, what they're thinking is, okay, how do you do a service transformation? How do we kind of bring the service delight to customer, right? So now I think the dimension of transformation got changed. Okay, the cost is one element, that's fine. While we are doing a cost transformation, can we do a service transformation? Especially from the warehousing and logistics, that's where most of our client now, I think, coming back and asking, how I can reduce my pick to pack time in a warehouse so that I can empower my service to my customer effectively, right? So that's where the shift is happening today because it's very competitive in the market, and for that we need a visibility, right? So if I have to have the very reduced pick to pack time in the warehouse and enable the service effective to consumer, the visibility is very important. I think you well said. Thanks for that. I'll probably come back for another questions, after I discuss with Mr. Abhijit, right? So one question which I want to kind of touch upon with you, Mr. Abhijit, right? So we actually, heard Sulaiza, Jan, and Nicholas as well, right? So one question just coming from many of our clients and even for many of the warehousing providers and people who are embarking a warehousing journey, right? There are many technologies, okay? There are many technologies. Definitely, the technology breakthrough has to happen. That is very clear. Suppose, today I'm completely manual. I just want to move the needle to a next level. I'm confused, right? So I want to have a digital fitness for sure. I want to kind of have a prerequisite for success, which is digital fitness. That is very clear. But with so many technologies in place, I would love to kind of, because it's competing for a management attention as well. Management would say, oh, come on, this company is doing this. Somebody has gone for ASR, somebody has gone for this one. Somebody actually has transformed the entire warehouse. There are multiple examples come from sometimes the management attention as well. And company would also step back and think through, okay, today my competitors are investing this, can I do it? So all these questions there in the mind. While at the same time, investment, how do I do investment and where do I do investment? There's all confounding questions in the mind, Abhijit, right? So my question is, while the technologies are competing, how do I identify which one is adding value, where to start, and what is the way we can actually think through the framework? If you could actually, from your experience and expertise, if you could actually guide some of the audience here, that would be super helpful, I think, for them. Would love to understand your thoughts, Mr. Abhijit. Yeah.
Sure. No, important part of the Ganesh. I think so. This is fundamental of any decision or business case discussion, and especially the digital transformation of warehouse logistics. The questions are not different than any other business case conversation. Like revenue, where we do make money and where to save money. Resources are limited. The timeline is a crunch. There's a customer experience topic, the customer satisfaction, and of course, and what management sees in the market as well. I believe we need to approach this in a way that there are many specialists who are trying to solve the most important problem or the problems which are seen in most of the cases. I'm going to take, for example, what EOG is doing. So for a partner EOG, they figured out like this one part of the business processes contributes to a significant pain point to save money, for example. So I think the easiest way to do would be not to reinvent something which is already available with the specialist, because these specialists, have seen this, have multiple case studies, they have experiences across various geographies. There are best practices. I think that will be very, very easy start in my mind. Now, going to the next level, even if there's a list, right? Okay, these are the 5 things these enterprises want to do. But end of the day, I guess the prioritization will be very, very important. So, for example, the visibility is very, very important because it has a very long, is a cycle, and of course there is an impact side as well. That I would say that this is how it's recommended. There are, like, for example, we also run at Here Technologies, we run multiple case studies. We see where the problems lie, right? What is the weakest link? And that is where we go and recommend. Example, for example, especially in the logistics side, we know that last mile is a very, very important part of the narrative. Extremely important, especially for a country like India, where the delivery ecosystem is expanding to, there's hundreds of cities. It is not limited to the top 30, top 50, top cities. It's like 100, 300 cities. And then within the cities also, the various neighborhoods, various goods and services are getting delivered to the neighborhood where probably 3 years back they were not getting delivered, be it food, grocery, medicine, ice cream, clothes, apparel, name the category. So just to summarize what I said is, one is we have specialists who know these ecosystems very, very well. They have years and years of experience running operations. They have seen those business problems when they were running the operations, and then they're kind of solving the problem. That will be a very quick and easy start, I would suggest.
No, thanks. Well said. I think, stepping back, I always say this, right? So I always, indicate this whenever I, embark a journey, whoever want to embark a journey, right? So ultimately, while you are not shooting in the dark, try to understand who actually knows this, who actually understands the space, and probably get a sense from them. Then I think it gives a good guidance for them to kind of move again. You well said, Mr. Abhijit, right? So that was really helpful. I'll move to Mr. Gaurav, right? So one of the area, I know you come from an inbound experience and the procurement experience, right? So one area today, not only from India, even Asia level, right? What I'm hearing is the talent and capability, which is actually very important. The gap, right? Which is from a logistics, inbound logistics point of view, even from the stores management point of view, even actually looking from the vendor cross dock and so on and so forth, and even in the finished good warehouse, right? So, and I want to understand, so how companies kind of reimagine their profit with the current talents and capabilities, and what do you see as a gap, and how do we kind of how you are managing today, and what are some tips and tricks probably I think you can actually pass on to people where you are managing this talent gap, and what are the different strategies you put on the table so that people actually can also get a sense mainly from the inbound logistics and warehousing point of view, right? So that'd be super helpful for the people to kind of think through a connected warehouse from the talent gap point of view, right? So let me pause and want to hear from you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think it is a very good question, and it's covering two kind of KPIs in general for any kind of supply chain. One is financial, and second is your people management. So it's very relatively, unfortunately, you can say it's very relatively these days very crucial for all of the companies. So all companies reimagining the profitability in terms of not only in the people gap, so they want to make sure the business continuity, because we have been seeing last 2 years, 2.5 years from very different kind of challenges for the pandemic, and then business continuity was on the top. So sometimes earlier, a decade before in India, if you ask the entrepreneur or companies to ask investment on the kind of digitization or automation or AI or those kind of tools were not being welcomed now, but this is the scenario has changed, and then everybody is talking about digitization and automation and other stuff. So it's a need and demand for the current situation. However, coming to the reimagination, there are companies who have already started working their employees, whether on-site working or hybrid model or sometime remote working. So those are some of the area where they are expecting these potential benefits, which are substantial, but history showed that mixing virtual and on-site working might be a lot harder than it looks, because despite its success during the pandemic, it's a very, you can say, short-term kind of approach which companies has approached. When you are coming back to the manufacturing industry, specifically to pharmaceutical and other essentials, where you need to have more on the tradition, which is a kind of modernization in terms of more on the on-site working rather than a virtual. However, it's time to reimagine your post-pandemic organization, because to pay careful attention to affect your choice on organization norms and culture, basically. So focus on your ties and bind your people together. That's one of the important area which I think we should be all are working together in on that. We need to pay heed core aspects of your own leadership, that's your broader group, because your leaders and managers are doing their day night for you. Your opportunity to fashion the hybrid and virtual model, because if it is your company demand is hybrid, then we go for the hybrid. Otherwise, it is okay to make one more kind of effort to bring back the all things normal. So coming back to your second question, which is what are the talent gap in terms of every supply chain, not only in the warehouse and logistics as well, there's shortage of skilled worker. I think we have spoke about, Jan has spoke about this particular problem. As a demand to recruit logistic and warehousing worker continues, because to provide insight, we have compiled a lot of emerging trend in logistic industry, and then we can see that there are a lot of shortages because of that pandemic. So one is to how to cover up that shortages, because general trend is not that. There are several reasons can be possible to it. Not only in the ones we have seen in some one of the discussion that maybe some experts were anticipating a kind of 85 to 100 million shortage worker by 2030. So it's just a matter of 7-8 years down the line. So we have to be very careful, and that this is not a problem that likely to go away anytime soon. So you have to be, it's a good time to start working on it. Then instead of employer must start in taking a step now to improve recruitment efforts and prioritizing job trainings, upskilling if they hope to remain competitive in year to come, because you can't imagine you don't have the enough manpower and strength and you are competing in the market with your product. Second challenge is the gap is everybody is talking about, there are some warehouse manager and logistic manager who was talking about automation and digitization, but the entire team is unaware from that. And we are only hiring the expert who are doing this job for the company, and we are expecting only a very few people in the team who can only handle this kind of improvisation projects with the digitization and the automation, AI. However, we need to upskill the other team members, even though if they are not part of the projects, at least they should know about what kind of need is we are talking about, what are the impacts, and what are the other area where your company is going to grow, what are the benefits are from these kind of tools. So ultimately, after the implementation of these kind of tools, every user has to do the execution on those tools, and then every team has to be very aware in terms of the knowledge and the reason behind how they work, what are the impacts. So this is the one of the gap which company has to do it, because it's not a fault of any employees, because earlier those days they have done the study from the reputed institute, but they never taught in terms of these kind of things. But now the educational structure is also going to be changed very soon, hopefully in India as well. So we will have those kind of skill set from the childhood. But now this is a responsibility, and this is the ownership of the companies itself to give every employee those kind of basics for those kind of tools. third and last, which is more is younger candidates without having experience. They can't be immediately replaced with the experienced one. So many of these potential workers are still they are just joining the industries with the very pressure, and they don't have a limited knowledge. And the companies are trying to replace retiring workers are likely to have a difficult time to recruiting candidates. So this is the one gap which is we need to find out how to build, how to manage, and how to make balance between the freshers versus some kind of experience, so that your entire talent which is already retiring your organization should not be just simplified and replaced by a fresher. So you have to be manage the jobs and roles profiles accordingly, so that you can balance those out. So I hope these are the 3 tips and the basic challenges which any companies are facing, and I hope so I'm answered your question.
No, fantastic. Thanks, Aaron Gaurav, right? So I was reading a Forbes article like 3-4 months back, right? So which is the warehouse labor woes are worse than ever. That's an article which I was reading, right? So ultimately, what I was hearing is, ultimately the warehouse labor shortage today, the overall industry is, having a huge issue for sure. That is actually very clear, right? And it is happening not only in US and many other countries as well, which is happening today. And I think today, I think 8% of the warehouses have a surge of over 100%. So people are facing this in many other countries as well. So as you rightly mentioned, this is like a very critical problem everywhere, and we have to step back and think through a different ways of doing it. That is very important. So thanks for sharing your thoughts. Maybe I'll probably move back to Nicholas, right? So Nicholas, I want to kind of touch your brains mainly from the context of smart warehousing. I'll probably give a background, right? So today, I was serving one of the pharma distributor. Okay, I'll give us a little bit of background. You understand the question well. So it's an Indian pharma distributor, and they have to get from a different carry forwarding agents. Imagine they have to get all the tablets and pills, everything, and right? It's very it's not not organized sector, and different CFAs and different carry forwarding agents have a different setup. So the pharma distributor have a different system, and this guy have a different systems, and it doesn't talk each other, right? So the platform is a bigger problem, and this is not happening only in this industry, many other industry, right? Because now imagine as a pharma distributor, I have a warehouses. I want to collect everything from my supplier, and I want to keep it here. So can I do a supplier portal with all my the inbound supply come from a different CFAs? It's a big challenge. Can I bring a big good platform? Is a big challenge, right? And that's where we were thinking. I was reading, right? The smart warehouse is more of how do you avoid this human error? How do you avoid this inventory error? How do you avoid kind of a lot of issues in the warehousing inventory inaccuracy, and also bring the security and safety? That is the second part. And that's why I was reading the smart warehouses evolving. It's actually bringing the best on the table. But would love to understand mainly from the platform. I mean, you actually work a lot in platforms and logistics platform, right? So maybe the twofold of questions: smart warehousing as a concept or as a topic, how companies can aim smart warehouse, those solutions to kind of bring the superior operations on the table, how they can do that, so that the productivity can be improved, and this platform problems in smart warehouse, right? How this can be solved, because I have a different parties, different partners, and so on and so forth. How they can solve the platform problem? Would love to kind of hear these two thoughts from you, Nicholas. Yeah, you're on mute, Nicholas.
Yeah, it's one of the issues that obviously you see as a multitude of technology starts coming in. You're starting to have information come from different places, and not having information is a problem, and then having information come from multiple places can be problems. And so, again, when you really look at logistics as a whole, and we've done it on the outbound side, and we're obviously just talking about the warehousing side, looking at where data comes from is very important when you're trying to determine the best solution to come from, how to create the best solution for a client. And I'll give you just a live example of what we've done with this platform. We've created it because of looking at problems like this, even with using IoT devices, for example. We've created the system to be able to bring your own IoT device to work. Like, you can use ours, phenomenal, great, but the realistic approach of saying, oh, our platform only works with our beacons or our IoT devices is not a good way to be trying to adapt globally. Like, it just doesn't exist. People have already made investments. Maybe maybe all the forklifts in your facility all have tracking devices on them. Well, great. We want to be able to pull the data from it. The key, as I look at smart warehousing as a whole, is the ability to take the data that is or isn't there and put it in something that can give you real-time actionable data, ability to make real-time business decisions. And so again, that data can be coming from multiple places. We have a customer right now that has 2 WMS systems. It depends based on if it is their clients, one of their larger clients, you have to use their specific WMS system, which causes a problem because they will not allow anybody to interface directly to it. So we are actually having information downloaded out of there, put into a file where we're grabbing on a daily basis, and then putting it back in there, and it gets knocked and sent back in, right? So it can update their system. Within the same warehouse, they have a component that is being done through the rest of their customers, which is their own homegrown WMS system. They're the only people in the world that use it, right? So we have to now interface into that system. And again, we can connect back and forth and obviously feed that information directly. And then they've now implemented an LMS system in the United States, which has not been adapted globally. So we have to be able to feed and map that information back to an LMS system. And again, let's make it a little more complex, that certain warehouses has certain IoT devices. They will still need some from us. It's no big deal. And then other warehouses have no IoT devices or anything like that. So again, we can provide those. But the key is making sure that the platforms that you're looking at can help bring in the data from where it exists today, and also feed it back into what it is, so that your warehouse actually is smart. Just because you have data, if you can't do anything with the data, it doesn't make it a smart warehouse. It doesn't make it intelligent from that perspective. So again, we're ourselves and here have spent a big amount of time is looking at that what I'll call the data problem that exists. You have 2 sides of it. You have no data, which is a problem. And then you have the other side of, okay, I've got all this data, but I have no way to bring it together. And it just makes it more of a manual process for companies to take that data and action it. So from our standpoint, our ability to standardize the data across is helpful, and working with our clients consistently as they're starting to look at bringing in new ways, whether it's Google Glasses, they want to do augmentation, which again, I think that there's some great parts that can be fed through there, where now I can take orders coming in from your WMS into our system platform, telling who it's being assigned to, and then being able to possibly take glasses and just be able to look and see paths that are able to go look at non-automated walls and do pick packs and different things like that directly off the ones that you're supposed to pull, and then feed all that information all back in, and then really tell effective rates. That's where it's going. But again, you really have to create a platform that has the ability to take data and be able to work it and make sure that it provides the needed information back in there. So that's probably the way I would deal with the data issue that's talked about there. The other one, I think that where you were starting to look to go is kind of the operational improvements, and where are some of if we're doing a health check on a warehouse, like where are the areas that we're seeing operational improvements with it? And if I go down that route, I mean, we kind of put in the 8 buckets based on our customers, and just kind of what they've come to us. And I'll just kind of give you the 8 buckets and just give you a little example of one just below and quickly, so you can jump on to the next one. But, people obviously come to us and they want to improve operational efficiency, and that sounds great. But, when we look at it, an example would be reducing, MHEs, idle times, or increasing utilization. right? So that was the one specific area that they would be looking to improve from an operational efficiency. What if it's driving impact on key KPIs, right? So improving order to dispatch or dock to stock time, like we was talked about earlier. That would be a big area that they'd be looking to use and leverage our technology to help do that. Improving zone productivity. So this is like looking at the zoning, how we would break down a different warehouse into different zones, and identifying underperforming zones, optimizing and load balancing and routing. Like that is something that we help deliver to them. Improving infrastructure planning, so achieve a seamless workflow, determining the best layout possibly of the warehouse based on the flow of the people. Now that you actually see the way people move through your warehouse, does it impact the way that you should plan or set up your warehouse? In many cases, it does. Obviously, reducing or improving the use of manpower. So make sure that the people that I have are productive and improving the ways that they're performing and being able to track to that, because there's no real way to do that currently if you're not having visibility there. Improve safety. This has been a big deal. You have people with COVID, instead of having to possibly shut down a whole warehouse, you can start telling who had close contact and maybe only shut down part of the warehouse based on the zones that they're operating in, or based on close contact based on the trackability. Obviously, reducing operating expenses. So, utilization, consumption of energy, even possibly lowering the size of the warehouse that's needed based on the way that you can set it up based on the information. And then also meeting the sustainability goals and how to help reduce carbon footprint and control non-essential movements of different goods. But those are really 8 of the areas that people operationally have come to us looking for improvement on, and where our system, and it's just ours, will help provide some of that feedback to them to really, again, help make those business decisions to make their operation actually operate smoother.
No, thanks, Nicholas. That was really helpful. Kind of covered the complete, the spectrum, which I wanted to kind of understand. So that was very helpful, Nicholas, right? So really appreciate. And maybe I'll just probably shift to Mr. Abhijit, right? So I have 2 questions. The first question is, when we heard about, the smart solutions, and you talked about where to start and so on and so forth, right? So the first question is, lot of the manufacturing company today who really want to do a warehouse transformation, for them the question is the below. Today, take a consumer or advanced industry or any other industry, right? Within India, I'm just saying, right? Even Asia level, my warehousing cost would be like a 0.5 or a 0.9 or a 1% of the overall revenue. Okay, imagine there is a range, 0.4 to 0.9 or a 1.1 max, right? So, e-commerce is different. I'm just talking about a general manufacturing company, right? So when I want to bring any automations, bring any, next level of warehouse transformation, one of the questions there in the mind of the warehousing in charge or warehousing head is, I can bring automations. It might take a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year. I think, let me know whether there is a quick 18 months payback is possible or not. I would love to kind of understand from you. But let's say for a small 0.9% of the overall cost, I have to bring a big investment, which actually take, let's say, 4 or 5 years of payback. That's where a lot of people struggle to convince the management, right? Whether we can do a warehouse transformation or not, whether it is very relevant today or not. This struggle is there, Mr. Abhijit, right? So this I'm hearing from a lot of clients, okay? And is there any other, is there a way to kind of crack this? I know it's a small portion, but it's very important from a service point of view. At the same time, all this automation, all this next level of transformation might take a little longer payback. If this is all actually there on the table, how do we step back and think through this? How do we convince the management to do a complete transformation in warehouse? That is a bigger question there in many of the manufacturing company, right? So how you say your technologies, how are you advising? How are you bringing this differently to the clients? So that some of the people who are hearing us now, they can go back and tell to the management that I want to do a warehouse transformation. This is the the benefit we can bring on the table. We can bring it very quickly and so on and so forth, right? So how we can help the people? You would have definitely come across this question for many people. What would be the advice, Mr. Abhijit? I want to kind of get a sense from you. If any quick thoughts for the people would be helpful. Would love to hear from you, Mr. Abhijit.
Sure. No, I guess this is this dilemma is not only with the warehouse, right? This is the any digital transformation program or project will go through this dilemma. That's the reality, and that is not only with this segment or this sector, and it's not the problem which we face today. And in past also, a similar situation, similar conversation might have happened whenever the topic of digital transformation was discussed across the various business operations, large enterprises, SMEs, MSMEs, and so on and so forth. I guess the starting point is that how future-proof the operations these enterprises want to be, right? It's not only the problem for today, and this is what is the ambition of this enterprise to scale, right? How they define success. Is the success only function of a cost, or success also the revenue and the repeat business and the reputation and sustainability and a few other goals. So there are, which is, and that's why the topic is transformation. Now, transformation is not a 1 day, 1 hour journey. It's future, right? That's why enterprises transform processes. So that's why I think the horizon has to be a little longer. The business case is not about a 6 months or 12 months of payback. It has to be looked into a more investment-led conversation. It's a one, and I think take for example, and I'll give an example like probably how the perspectives change, right? And few incidents happen, few situations arise which are beyond our control, and many things will keep happening in front of us in the business situations. The way the delivery companies have handled the scale they required to handle during the pandemic, post-pandemic, it's phenomenal, right? That thought process, the business case was very, very different what was in 2019. Now, what has happened is behaviors of the consumers have changed drastically, and then suddenly, if I as a user was not consuming e-commerce services 2 years back, but I got used to it. Now I'm going to go further, right? Today I'm consuming a category, and then I'm going to go further. So entire supply chain has to evolve to handle such scale and then to be future ready. So I think that is the thought process which is very important. And this digital transformation, I said, not only this sector, and tomorrow it's happening on agriculture, on healthcare, education, for example. All of these will go through this very what I call the dilemma, but I guess the payback is not in 12 months. Payback is future, and then upside of revenue, upside of satisfied customers, references, and at the end of the day, I think, and Nick mentioned this, right? More information is helpful. Like, how do you take more, decision? Are you missing something which is not visible to you today? What we don't know, maybe as a set of information is more powerful than what we don't have today. So, and the decision making will be very different if you have such information through the digital transformation. So I think the way the business cases should be written, factoring all of these. And again, I always believe that there are these specialists who have done this. They are able to, uncover such benefits. They are able to share those benefits of the case studies, etc., so that with some of these can still be implemented and benefits can be derived. So that's my answer, Dr. Ganesh. I know this is a dilemma we all face through in our life,
right?
Business decision, but I guess it's more of a bit of a longer term.
Yeah, I think as you rightly said, it's the need of the hour, and any transformation takes time. Agree, but I think ultimately, I think the individual company has to decide, right? If they really wanted to be in a competing setup and a demanding consumer, and really, the cost cutting has to happen in many ways, and that's why we have to step back and think through how do we, transform from a warehousing point as well. Is very vital to kind of step back and think through this in a holistic way, not in a hey, come on, I have to get the money by tomorrow. I think it's not the case. It's about a journey which actually has to come on the table. That's you well said, Abhijit, right? So maybe one more question to you, and after that I'll move to Gaurav, right? So So this location analytics, right? Be it from a warehousing point of view or even from a logistics point of view, this is evolving a lot, Mr. Abhijit, right?
Yes. Yes.
So want to get your sense. What is that? I know Suleza also gave some kind of idea, but would be helpful if you could share some example where you have done and what was the benefit you actually have seen, and people how they can take this forward, and what are the areas they can actually think to a location from warehouse and from logistics point of view. And that would be helpful to kind of want to kickstart the journey, think through this journey, give some kind of a tips and tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so location is key ingredient to this business process. Extremely important. When the goods move from point A to point B, and that promise of the movement to user is defined, right? And that's why when you look at this processes, and the location plays an extremely important role from a point of manufacturing to a port, for example, or wherever these goods are put in a warehouse, and there are various business processes run within the warehouse, and then of course it goes to the user, right? And that's the kind of a journey. And many times, if you look at the manufacturing itself is not dependent. It's dependent on sources from different cities and countries. Very complex. Automobile is a great example where it's not always is manufactured all the parts, right? And there, of course, electronics is another example. So is probably many other product categories. So all of these orchestration is very important. Now, there are of course lots of theories around how those inventories should be managed, and how should an inventory should be managed within the warehouse, how this inventory should be, and how the finished goods should also move from point A to point B. Now, and of course there is a layer. So as one layer is of course when the goods move from the warehouse to or a delivery location to end user. So that process has to be extremely efficient. The buyers today want more visibility. They want to be more empowered as far as that information is concerned. When I pay, $1 or whatever is for something which I'm buying, I want to know when I'm getting it. And that is the part of the digital transformation, right? Suddenly, if I want to go to the platform to buy again, when I see that promises have been met, right? It's very important. Secondly, when that movement of goods happen, that's also a complex operation. And control. How do we dispatch? How do we find the right delivery company? How efficient the delivery company would be, within moving from point A to point B. And these are a very complex mathematical problem as well, because you need to find the right route and the most, time and a dollar attached to it. And then, of course, within the warehouse itself, locating the parts and the goods as well. So location play extremely important from wherever the goods are to where it is moving. And as I said in my previous question, I think more information gives significant empowerment across the value chain. And when I say empowerment, it's something a power in the decision maker's hand, right? Right decision, right financial decision. And end of the day, I also believe in the NPS, the Net Promoter Score of all the stakeholders. Will I recommend this service provider to my friends and families? That's very powerful. So if you look at end-to-end, just to summarize, it's extremely important. It plays very critical role. And last but not the least, when any operation scales from multiple cities to multiple countries, location plays further significant role. So that's my summary to your question.
That was super helpful. Thanks, Mr. Abhijit. Right. So maybe I'll probably switch gear to Mr. Gaurav. Gaurav, I think today consumer, the pharma / CPG and consumer are almost similar, right? From a B2C angle, I just want to get a sense from you. What are the unique challenges you actually facing or faced, especially in the logistics and warehousing, and how you dealt, and how, from your experience and expertise, you also have a very long experience, right? How the companies are dealing this, especially this warehousing challenges from a similar company like you, right? So, what are the good piece of advice you actually kind of give it to the audience? What challenges you face and you have seen, and how you actually overcome that, and how other people you have seen overcoming would be helpful to kind of hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. So this is basically, when I say we, means in terms of the vaccine manufacturer, because we are manufacturing this one of the COVID vaccine.
Perfect.
And these are the companies who are already manufacturing the vaccine are facing the main challenge 2 years back in India as well as globally, how to logistic them and how to distribute them and how to keep them entire journey from end to end in minus 20 degrees centigrade, and that's what the requirement for those vaccines, because it cannot be in any time in the process between right now from manufacturing to the patient. So this was a great big challenge at that time. For this particular vaccine, we have seen so much of variances, but the historical awareness from the vaccine manufacturer has given us some idea where we could identify, yes, these are the challenges can be avoided if we have a proper logistic service providers with us. Apart from logistics, there are multiple cases where we found that yes, the possibility in the pharmaceutical industry cannot be arm-to-arm distribution in a one shot or in one go. So it can be possible that we have to do some outsource warehousing management as well. So one is to store maybe in between the in transit within the minus 20 degrees, because most of the airports where they have a kind of challenge in the capacity of minus 20 storage. So we have to look it for the entire process of third-party logistic provider who can provide logistics, warehousing, and throughout the capacity to handle the minus 20 degree centigrade shipments. In the vaccine, because this is purely related to the current scenario of COVID related, but however, most of the vaccine where we found the earlier as well, there is a challenge to maintain and keep track of the shipment temperature and the sensitivity. Now coming back to how you are addressing those, because if you are selecting any kind of third party logistics service provider who can give you a kind of solution, a joint solution, a consolidated solution for logistics as well as warehousing, you need to be very careful in terms of to understand, because you know your logistic and warehouse operation in your organization better than anybody else. So however, you might not have an idea about how the 3PL service provider will help your organization and its profitability, but if you get some outside help from your colleague and peers to choosing 3PL service provider, it will help simplifying the process, because this will enable you to reduce time constraint. You need to look for someone who has enough knowledge about 3PL, as they will be able to demonstrate the experience with a wide scope of providers and operations. Secondly, define a comprehensible process, because one of the primary reasons of frustration for people who try to evaluate 3PL shipping is that there is no defined process most of the time. So nobody has a clear idea about what results are to be expected, what deliverables we are asking from our 3PL service provider. So, however, if you have an idea about your own requirement, very clear-cut requirement, but having a checklist, then collect the data and get to know what you have to look for in a certain contract. Third one is you have to consider at least a 2 or 3 3PL service provider rather than going with the only one, because without or with an external assistance, you can advance research of perspective of choosing a 3PL service provider to cater your requirement. You need to be a detailed evaluation of and the comparison with the companies that you have chosen. If you are not completely satisfied with your end results, you can modify and proceed and start investigating with the others which you have already evaluated at the time of selection. So the furthermore is keep an internal evaluation team which can provide you the consistent information technology, supply chain, logistics, finance, marketing, and purchasing department. If you do this, you will have a corporate wide buy of your decision, because this also displays the impact that logistics have on the larger business and gives an insight. One more is, which is a mutual non-disclosure agreement, which we face many times. Other companies has a similar kind of issues. If you are signing up with those kind of service provider, you need to have a very robust and mutual enforceable non-disclosure agreements before a formal business starts, because it's very important in terms of data, product, and it's a life-saving drugs. Vaccines are also life-saving vaccines, so you need to have very robust agreements in place. Last but not the least, it's a financial stability. You have to be careful, because there are a lot of external agencies like Dun & Bradstreet and all, where you can identify and you can check the financial stability of those service provider, because they are carrying your brand to the customer and to the patient in the market. So these are some tips how you select your warehousing and logistics service providers. So hopefully I have given a good answer to you.
No, I think fantastic. A lot of tips. Really appreciate, Gaurav. I think really appreciate the entire panel, right? So I know we have another 3-4 minutes to go. I just probably want to share some of my thoughts as well in this topic. Really thanks to Sulaisa to kind of begin with the fantastic, the role of location in warehousing. That was really helpful. And thanks to Jan is not here. How do we kind of embark the journey of warehouse automation? That was really helpful for the people. And really thanks to Nicholas, Ms. Abhijit and Gaurav to kind of share some of your thoughts, especially how do we step back and think through, the technology breakthrough, where to start, and how do we think through a smart warehousing element, and also how do we actually think through a location analytics, what is the way we can actually embark the journey. So, and Gaurav, I think you clearly mentioned in terms of the talent as well, the challenges what you faced and how you have solved in logistics and warehousing. That was really helpful, right? And the real-time visibility is really need of the hour, and people really wanted to kind of implement this next level. I think this all guidance whatever you provided thing is fantastic and really helpful for the entire audience. So there is no doubt about it. I think I'll take a couple of minutes to kind of share one of the recent thoughts from our side, especially from how this warehouse automation overall is evolving. Maybe a couple of slides on my side with that we can close the overall discussion, right? So today, if you look at from the overall growth, right, the high-end automation, especially in the warehousing, that is actually growing everywhere. If you see the left-hand side, the split of geographic split, which is very clearly right from a 2017 to 2025 expectation is everywhere, Japan, North America, Europe, even Asia Pacific as well. It's going to have definitely a good spike. It's going to happen. We need to really understand not only happening from westernized world, it's also happening in India, Asia market. That is from the left hand side. The middle actually is very clear. Each and every industry. So it's not about only e-commerce. It's even auto, 3PL, food and beverage, and pharma. I think all these companies are trying to embark the journey in the complete automation. So that is also very clear. And from the products point of view also, right? Be it a conveyor or ASRS or whatever the product, right? So from a picking, from a conveyor, from a sortation, from a AGV, that is also kind of growing from a 2017 to a 2025. This shows that if you don't think about warehouse automation as a topic, we are not in a right stage. We need to step back and think. So you will see the trend in the next 2-3 years. Your competing company is going to go to the next level. When you don't think about this, then you are really in the backyard. So I think that's the important element if I want to kind of indicate to you. And there are many providers, there are many solution providers and many other consulting companies are there, and you have to step back and think through. As Ms. Abhijit was mentioning, right? You need a specialist to kind of guide you. That is important. And now we understand what ER technology is doing. So probably I think somebody want to think about the journey, reach out to them and understand how you can actually start your journey, because this is evolving and this is very important need of the hour, right? And there are library of technologies, and I was indicating, right? So from receiving, storage, picking, packing, and so on and so forth. But applicability is important. This is one framework. You also have to create this framework for you, right? Imagine there are 20 different technologies, and for you, which technology is relevant? You want something in storage, you want something in picking, you want something in packing. So try to create this particular framework for you, where is applicable, where is not applicable, and where you want to, among the ticks you see in the right hand side, which all ticks you want to kind of take over for you, right? So that's where the warehouse transformation journey has to happen, right? This is an important thought I want to give it to people. You need to create this particular framework for you. Then the warehouse, the digital design will happen, right? The last 1 minute, I probably play this video, which will be very interesting for you to understand how the warehouse digital design happening. This is one of the thought process from McKinsey. With that, we probably can wind up the session. So I'll just play this video for benefit of everyone. I see whether I share my audio. Just give me a second. I have to share my sound. Just give me. Yes. With this, I'll probably play my video.
Warehousing is growing increasingly complex, driving costs to nearly $350 billion a year. But warehouses are in continuous operation, making it difficult to discover the best methods for greater efficiency and effectiveness. Companies can't afford to shut down a warehouse to tinker with workflows. Digital warehouse design offers companies a low-risk way to test and learn using a digital twin. The digital twin lets companies see what's possible before making any investment decisions. Companies can test different layouts to reduce costs, improve space utilization, and align with strategic business needs. Testing new product assignment logic can make picking and storage operations more efficient. We can also test the business case for new technology and processes faster and with greater accuracy. We can compare the performance of our newly designed warehouse against our previous one along several dimensions. All of it can be tested in limitless combinations to find the most effective scenario. Digital warehouse design is not just a tool. It's a new way to visualize the design and operation of warehouses and test new approaches before you implement.
So that's why I want to kind of share, right? So before you embark a journey, you simulate, you understand where you want to do, where you want to automate. So that I think you need to step back and think through the simulation, then decide the journey of automation that I think will bring the benefit for you, right? So step back and think through this digital design. There are many platforms available. Figure out how we can actually do this. After that, you can move to a right set of technology, which will definitely bring value out on the table. So with this, thanks everyone. We are on time. Thanks everyone. Thanks to Air Technologies, Ms. Abhijit Sulaiza for bringing this topic, a very important topic. I know this is very critical topic for everyone. And thanks to Mr. Nicholas and Gaurav for adding your thoughts in this session. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you.
Great, Dave.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Yeah. Over to you, John. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. Thank you, all the panel members. We'll connect for the next session, 3:45. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you so much.